if you're sitting out in the bank parking lot, you're getting ready to go in, and you see somebody. I mean, I know it would be crazy, but to say, listen, I just saw something really strange. I mean, if you witness that, somebody walking in, that they looked like they were dressed up. Now, chances are, we all know there's plenty of interesting stuff out there.
Sure.
Through the streets of Utica.
Yep.
So to see a guy dressed up as a woman, hairy legs or whatever, to see that would not be something that would be overly abnormal. However, you make a phone call?
The thing is, I can tell you, I can't speak to bank robberies, but I can't tell you the number of crimes over the years has been solved by just somebody that saw something that just didn't quite look right.
Something odd.
We say this all the time about neighborhoods, is that I think every neighborhood has kind of their nosy neighbor.
Yeah.
Nosy neighbors are not bad. They watch everything. They realize what's going on.
If you've got a good nosy neighbor next to you, as long as you're pulling your curtains at the right time, that's a good. That's
right,
a good
like
thing to
Kristine
have.
strikes me as the nosy neighbor type. She's
What?
always
Wow.
watching what's going on.
What are you kidding? You? Oh,
Well, I always
my.
pick on Jeff. I take a shot.
Well,
That's
in
awful.
reality, in her news world, as a reporter, she is that perfect
See?
person.
I hide when I see a news story around my house.
Yeah.
It was a correct assessment on my part. I'll take
Yeah,
it to
that
it.
was, well,
I hide.
I will tell you, my mother was at a store in the valley on just before that story broke, and called me and said, I just saw. This was just before the noon news on KTV, and before I think everybody had the photo out. She said, we were in a store, and a guy came running in and said he needed bags, and he seemed really nervous, and the woman gave him the bags, and he ran out, and he drove off. And she said, I know what kind of car it was. Could there be something? Could this be something to do with what happened there? Turns out the guy was white.
Right.
So once the pictures came out and we had the photo, it was like, well, it's probably not that person. But it's not a bad idea to take note when you see something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we're all busy going about our lives and our business, and when you go to the bank, it's not like you're there for vacation. You want to get in and get out and go about and do your business, running errands during lunchtime, sort of thing. So, but I would suspect that at the time of day that it was, that there was somebody that saw this person either. We believe he did come to the bank on a bike, and we believe he left on a bike. So somebody probably saw something. I think it would be a little bit peculiar to see someone riding around dressed like that, riding a bicycle.
And up Higby Road.
It looks like initially, up Hickory Road. Yep.
I mean, this person must be in good shape.
Well,
I mean, that's tough, wouldn't you agree? I mean,
That's
up
a
that
hill.
hill on Higby
Absolutely.
Road.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you want to move quickly.
Right. I mean, I don't think I
Although
could
he
go
did
up.
ditch the bike, but he ditched the bike up higher up on the hill.
Kind of on the way up the hill.
Yeah,
it looks
okay.
like, yeah.
All right.
So, and then also let me ask, the fact that he was dressed up, we think it was a guy dressed as a woman. Do you reach out to other agencies who are investigating bank robberies and see if this is, because sometimes you guys come up with names for these.
We do. In fact, I don't know if you remember, I think it was probably almost 2 years ago now, we had a bank robbery in the middle of the day at Adirondack Bank. And that ended up being a guy who robbed several banks across the state, Rochester, Syracuse. We worked very closely with the FBI on that and very quickly got onto him. And he was convicted, I think, this year of 5 or 6 or 7 different bank robberies. And that was working with other agencies.
Well, it's funny because Andrew had said if you're, and we're talking to people that everybody seemed to feel this seemed like a professional job. I don't know, going away on a bike, I just don't know about that.
I can't believe he used a bike.
Yeah. Yeah, but you got to get halfway up the hill. What if there was a cop in that area?
Yeah, well, the thing is I got asked this question the other day, is disguising yourself during a bank robbery is as old as bank robberies themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody knows there's cameras in banks. Tellers have some training on trying to recognize people and certain facts and stuff about it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not unusual to see that. I think it's a little peculiar for us anyway to see somebody dressed up as a woman.
Yeah, it's
you know,
just,
but
there could be a name, you could name, like the big cities when they have these robberies, they always name them something.
right.
A cross-dresser, bank robber.
And the reason why the FBI does that is they found
Oh, it's
over
the
the years.
FBI that does it.
Yeah, the FBI does that. When they do that, it draws attention from the media. So, they little catchwords, and it gets a lot of attention, and people look them up, and that's why they do that, because it draws a lot of attention.
Yeah. Okay, I want to. I do. All the schools, so many schools, went on lockdown.
Right.
And a lot of them went on lockdown, and it was lockdown for the whole day. I want to talk about that, and I'm wondering, are we overreacting, or are we just being safe and it's the right thing to do? So I want to come back and get into that for a second. On Friday, it looks like it was a man dressed as a woman. Lieutenant Hauck, you're agreeing with that. I mean, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, that's the indication that we have.
Although it could be, like it said, it could be a woman dressing to look like she is a man dressed up like a woman.
Absolutely.
Anything's possible.
Absolutely could be possible.
But I don't know, in terms of bank robberies, women don't seem to be they don't fit the norm, right?
Well, no, men definitely
Yeah,
account
yeah.
for primarily a majority of the bank robberies, sure.
Okay, so all these schools went on lockdown.
Yeah, a lot did, yeah.
Are we, I mean, even out as far as Sequoia, I mean, and I know this person was on the loose and they did have a weapon, but they're still on the loose.
Right.
And, you know, is the lockdown an overreaction?
It's difficult to say. You know, we're in a different position, obviously, than the schools are. And, you know, I think they're always going to act with an overabundance of caution. A lot of times what happens is they will call us looking for guidance. The problem is that within the first few minutes of a case, we don't have a lot of information to offer them. So
Right.
I think what happens is they make the decision that, well, let's not take any chances and we'll lock down. And then I think what happens is, and this is just my assumption, that when one school locks down, it becomes a domino effect with other schools.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have, you know, a whole group of them locked down.
Utica and New Hartford seemed to be, especially with it looked like the guy was going up Higbee Road. So you can certainly see that would be going up towards the elementary and the junior high.
Yeah, you
For
could
New
see
Hartford.
that in Utica. I would think that Jones and Remington Road, and then you have New Hartford. You have a school up on Higbee, and there's another one up on Oxford Road.
Yeah.
I could see those. Those were in relatively close proximity.
Yeah. Whereas it really did reach out. I mean, wasn't it? It was Sequoia on a lockdown as well.
I think Sequoia was, New York Mills.
Yeah.
There was a bunch that were locked down. Yeah.
So the other thing that I find interesting is we all have these visions. I don't know about all of us. Kristine, I bet Kristine does too.
I
You
don't know,
have
I'm a nosy neighbor, so I don't know what visions I have.
I have these. Well, the visions are of people doing other people doing things. Your neighbors probably. For me, I go through the motions in my mind of if I'm ever in a bank or in a place where something happens, here's how I would handle it, and it almost always ends up with me being a gigantic hero when it's all said and done. It's like, take out the like something out of a movie. The fact is that is probably, you know, most of these people, they do a weapon to let everybody know they're serious. But when was the last time we had someone that was really willing to use the weapon? I mean, they always seem like they're willing to use it, but if you let them take the money, isn't that the way to go?
It is.
Do you want someone being a hero and tackling the guy as he's leaving?
No. The best way statistically for everybody to stay safe is to just give them what they want.
Yeah.
That's what tellers are trained. That's what they do. You know, and the reality of it is, when it's all said and done, it's just money. I know it's difficult, and obviously a business, you're a victim, but the safest thing is to just give them what they want and let them leave.
And would you say one of the worrisome things that police have is that you have a guy that's inside that feels like, you know what, I'm going to take this guy out?
Yeah, you do worry about that.
Because that could cause trouble for everybody.
Absolutely. And if the police should happen to arrive quickly to the bank and say this person maybe is armed, has a gun or something like that, then, you know, who do you know who the bad guy is and versus the good guy? So the best thing is to just, you know, let them do what they got to do.
You know, often the amount of money stolen in a local robbery like this isn't released. Right.
Yes,
That's so. What, other people aren't encouraged to do that?
exactly.
So I just had a thought, and I could be totally wrong, because in my mind, it can't be that much money. It's not like, I'm gonna just throw a number out there. It's not like they're getting away with like 80 grand out of a register. I think maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't that be a message, a discouraging message, if, let's say, someone robbed a bank, got away with
$11.
$2,500 or $7,000, but in exchange for that, I mean, you're looking at a very, very hefty prison sentence if you're caught. The risk and reward there seems to be way.
Very disproportionate. Yeah, absolutely. And the chance of getting caught is bank robbers get caught. They get a lot of attention. There's for the most part, very good surveillance photos.
And it's a federal crime.
Exactly.